I see Black. I see Tom, and he looks good. Hey, Julie Loken, what's going on? Tom looks good today. Come on up. Be. Last week, people said this is a show. Tom, what do you think?
I mean, I guess. Should I feel on the spot then? Should I feel like I'm performing? Because I don't. But I don't know. Am I supposed to? I don't know. I feel like I should be doing a song and dance or something instead of instead of just yammering about crap like we usually do. So I don't know. Maybe it's a show. Maybe it's not a show. I don't know. Am I a dancing monkey? Should I get out my cymbals and my little drum?
I like that. Well, aren't you supposed to just be yourself? So you do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm good at being me because at the end of the day, I just don't have the energy to try to be anybody else, right? Like, it just sounds exhausting. It drives me crazy when people are like, oh, like when they talk about sort of their different personas in different parts of their life. And I'm like, God, that sounds exhausting. Like being somebody at work and then being somebody else with your family and then being somebody else with your friends and then being like, what? No, like just be you. Like, come on. Like it sounds so exhausting. I'm just not, I can't be bothered. I'm just me 100% of the time. Take it or leave it. Some people choose to leave it. Some people choose to take it. The choice is yours, but that's what it is. I am who I am.
I hear that, man. And sometimes I'll get yelled at from my wife for like talking to people at the gas station or in the grocery store line or the cashier. And I'm like talking about their family or where they're going on vacation that night, that weekend, or Mother's Day. And she's like, we have to go. So seriously, I do at times wear like a big hat and big sunglasses, and I pull my that's the only way I can do it. I have to pull my hat down like this, and then I can a little bit not just talk to everybody I see. Otherwise, I'm guilty, man. But I want to know, man. I'm like, this dude looks interesting. I got to see what's going on with him, and so then we start a conversation.
When you started talking about that, I pictured like that sort of like prototypical like celebrity trying to be low key on the beach or something like that. So like, but I of course thought like kind of pictured like the sort of Jackie O or like Marilyn Monroe like trying to be incognito. So the giant like floppy hat and like big old sunglasses, like that's what I picture. So like you're talking about like wearing, and I'm like why are you wearing a big floppy hat and giant sunglasses a la like Marilyn Monroe on a beach, Dom?
That is true. That's the outfit, man. That's what I look best in.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, let's meet some people. We got to see what's going on with our friends. We got Prof T in the house, Debbie in the house, Jason's here, Julie, Brian, come on up, man. We're going to talk media. We're going to talk business. We're going to talk having some fun. It's all right to have fun. Tom did a vlog. I watched Tom's vlogs. You guys should all watch Tom's vlog. I watched the other day, and he was talking about having fun. So that's remembering to have fun. So that's something we'll talk about. So what do you say we meet Julie, this Julie Loken? She seems interesting, Tom.
Yeah, let's see what she's got to say about having fun.
Okay, go, Julie. Do you want to talk about having fun?
Okay, you have to tell me how my audio is today. Is it okay?
So far, so good. Go on.
Well, all I want to do is have some fun. Like seriously, let's have some fun today.
Who sang that? Is that Cyndi Lauper or who was that?
All I want to do is have some fun. I've got a feeling I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm a really bad. Sheryl Crow, that's right. Thanks. I have no idea. Let's cue up some music, guys. Some Sheryl Crow.
I think our live stream will get pulled down all over the place if we start playing Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, it's copyrighted.
Well, it's not if we sing it ourselves, right, guys? I know there's some good singers here. No, it is all about, a lot of us forget to have fun, especially as we become adulting and have all these responsibilities. Why can't we just go to that carefree spirit we used to be when we were kids? We forget it. So let's do this today. Let's have some fun with Tom and Dom. Share the room, everybody.
Okay, now I need to know this. Besides for having fun, if you sing a song, Tom, if I was to just be like YMCA or like Julie singing "All I Want to Do Is Have Some Fun," and I was thinking she was going to go like Whitney Houston, not Sheryl Crow or something. But anyway, is that like a copyright infringement if you sing somebody else's song like that?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. Covers are like a little bit of a gray area, but generally speaking, like if you're reproducing someone else's work, like i.e. a faithful reproduction, right? Then you're reproducing copyrighted work, and it falls under their copyright.
You can use snippets, right, Tom? Like you can use snippets like Reels and TikTok, like a short amount of the music.
Yeah, but that's also because TikTok has negotiated licensing for that stuff to be able to use it on the platform. It's not just because of the length of it, right? So it's generally speaking, the rule of thumb is if it's recognizable, right? So if it's enough of the song for you to be able to recognize that it's that song, then it needs to be licensed. So for like the reels and like, all that kind of stuff, like those, um, uh, they've negotiated rights to be able to use those pieces of commercial music on TikTok, on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, it's not that like, oh, if it's under 10 seconds, you can just use whatever you want. It's not the case. You're 100% violating copyright if you do that. But yeah, so you have to be very, very careful about how you use music, what kind of music you use. All the sort of social media platforms use algorithms to try to identify commercial music and then make sure it's either licensed or not licensed properly. And if they determine it's not licensed properly, then boom, your content gets taken down. So I know Dom has a story about finding this out the hard way. But it's it's the truth. It's how they protect that intellectual property, right? At the end of the day, that music, commercial music is intellectual property. So you can't just grab it and use it. But a lot of people make that mistake. It's a really easy trap to fall into.
Hey, I want to say on that note, yes, I was guilty. I'm making like videos on I was sharing videos I made on other platforms on TikTok, on Twitter. And I had like a couple thousand followers that I had really built like a community that I talked to. They talked to me. Radio shows in Pittsburgh, even John Cena. Damn it. I lost John Cena as a follower because my whole account got shut down. And I had like 100 violations and there's nothing I could do. It was something I didn't even know. But I wanted to point out when I was in insurance, I spent about 10 years in business insurance, and some of the lawsuits that were very calm. I had one, somebody put Corona on a clock and got sued for millions and millions and millions of dollars. They were making they made stuff with bling on it, like cups with, like we'll call it like a cup with ice that's like ice, a cup that said pimp on it or something like that, or clocks that used other people's stuff. All of a sudden, big suit from Corona. Another time, a company used something they called one of their products something that John Deere already used. John Deere found it like that. Another business, I don't know why this is so common. Another business, it was a gym, and they used a picture of Mighty Mouse on their gym, like on their logo, and they got a cease and desist like nobody's business. And then I just back to songs in your book is a no. People want to put lyrics all the time in books, and they'll be like lyrics like the Beatles lyrics, here in my favorite song, Let It Be, here. It's a complete violation, and you'll end up with a lawsuit real quick. Okay, this is not the smartest guys in the room. You guys told us we need to call it a show. Tom was talking about having some fun. Tom, tell us about that, and then let's go to Prof T.
Absolutely, Dom. So yeah, that vlog really all came out of, I'll just give everybody some context here real quick in case they haven't seen that vlog that I posted on Sunday, I guess. I think on Father's Day is when I posted that one. Yeah, so I woke up to Becky and I had been out at a dinner the night before, got home late. And so a little bit before 8 o'clock in the morning, I was still laying in bed and started getting some text messages. Checked my phone, and it was a couple of my buddies that I do a lot of riding with, cycling buddies, and they were texting about going for a ride. And I looked at my training schedule, my training plan for my next Ironman race, which is in September. And I had a run and a swim scheduled for Sunday on that training plan. But I hadn't been out riding with these two friends of mine in about a month. And so I kind of like hemmed and hawed. And then I realized, like, I kind of came to this, I stopped myself basically is what I had to do. I had to like pump the brakes on myself and stop myself from kind of going down this route of like adhering too strictly to this training plan. And I had to remind myself that the reason I go ride my bike, the reason I run, the reason I do Ironman races, the reason I do any of this stuff is to have fun, right? And if it stops being fun because I get too strict, because I get too, for lack of a better term, if I get too anal about it, right? If I get too strict with myself about it, it's going to stop being fun. If it stops being fun, then what am I doing? Right? Like, why am I doing any of it if I'm not having fun, if I'm not enjoying it? And so I had to remind myself that I should have fun and that I should allow myself to kind of stray off of the training schedule a little bit here and there to go have fun with some friends. And so that's exactly what I did on Sunday morning. And instead of doing my run and my swim, I went and did like a 2.5 hour bike ride with a couple of buddies that I hadn't seen in a month, right? And that was just my reminder for the day. Like, I just kept thinking about that throughout the day. Like, just remember, this is supposed to be fun, right? And I think there's some broader application to that. There's a lot of things that we have to do in life that aren't inherently fun in and of themselves, right? While you're doing it, it's not a ton of fun. While you're doing it, it's not super exciting, right? But just remember in the like the broad vision of things, right? The broad scope of things, all of this is supposed to be fun. Life, right, is supposed to be fun. So don't let yourself get mired down in the minutia or the details. Make sure that, broadly speaking, right, in the big picture perspective, you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself, you're happy, right? That is incredibly important. And that was just kind of what was on my mind and what I was thinking about on Sunday when I made that decision to go riding with those buddies and when I made that vlog to just, share that with everybody. Just, hey, just stop yourself every once in a while. Remind yourself that it's okay to have fun and that you should be having fun. So that was for a little bit of broader context for everybody, so you know what we're talking about. That's what Dom's talking about when he references that vlog and having fun. So yeah, that's what I do. I try to have fun.
There we go, man. Right on. Hey, Prof T, what do you think about having fun? Can we have fun out there? Should we be having fun, or should we be serious all the time? Or can you do both? Can you be successful and have fun? Go on, Prof T.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good now, wherever you are in the world. Teresa Augustinelli here, otherwise known as Prof T from Philly. And you guessed it, it's chilly. Doing my walk. I've got my hoodie on. My hands are a little chilly. So I'm looking forward to a fabulous Wednesday. Love the topic. Hi, Julie. Hope you're feeling better, my dear. Julie's been under the weather. And I was actually going to sing the Cyndi Lauper song that girls just want to have fun, but I'll just refrain from singing. However, I do believe in fun. Listen, there's an old saying, laughter is the best medicine. It can cure what ails you. And I have found that for me, there was a time when I didn't feel like having fun. I didn't feel like there was anything to have fun for. My life was just really stressful. As many of you who have gone through stuff, it's hard to dig deep and have fun. However, with mastering my mindset and, being around the right people, always surrounding myself with people who are uplifting, um, and realizing that fun is where you are. So I've learned to have fun no matter what I'm doing. It's your perspective. Of course, getting your teeth drilled or, sitting in the doctor's office waiting for the doctor's news is not fun. However, science has proven that you need to have some downtime. You need to have some fun time because your body and your brain can only handle so much stress. With that, depending on the kind of fun you're having, I think that it can make your journey a little lighter. And if you don't love what you're doing, and I hate to say this, but if you're not having fun doing what you're doing, then perhaps you need to reevaluate why you're doing it, or if you can change your mindset. Fun is what you make of it. Speaking of fun, I'm heading to the shore for the next couple of days, and it's going to be raining and cold. So hopefully we'll have some fun. But I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm playing around with a jingle in my head for the Tom and Dom, I don't know, show where we're having fun. Thanks. Prof T, over to you, you guys. Always a pleasure to see everybody. Great room. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Prof T, and we appreciate. We'll take a jingle. I like that idea. Go on, Tom.
I'd be curious to see how not the smartest guys in the room gets worked into a piece of music. That's it's fine to say, but musically, I feel like it might be a little clunky. I don't know.
It could be. We're gonna have to get somebody
Wow,
on.
you could probably make a jingle out of anything. Do we not all remember the silliest jingles? The ones that what? But we seem to remember those jingles. Anyway, sounds like something we can have a group vote. And Julie is so creative; she can come up with something in 2 seconds.
I was thinking a rap song, a little rap.
Rap. Okay, Johnny, you flashed off. What do you want to add there? Go on, my friend.
Challenge accepted for the jingle.
Hey, when I was in like 5th grade or 7th grade, whenever we were learning prepositions, I made a prepositional rap, and it was like, if not by, for, and during, and it was the coolest, man. The only thing I ever did good in school.
So you were LL Whitebread.
I was LL not very good. You got it, Johnny. But I did. I will tell you now, this is an interlude. I had the coolest I had a Chrysler Laser, and then I got a Chevy Blazer. And in the back of my Chevy Blazer, in a plexiglass box, if you think about this, it has two 12-inch speakers in it, and they were plexiglass on the top, so you could look in and see the bass booming as it boomed. And man, was I cool driving down the streets. Probably a reason why my ears ring 24 hours a day, but man, for that short period of time, I was cool. So that's all. Just thought I'd let you know about my bass. Okay, let's see. Debbie's doing good things out there. Debbie, my dear friend, she wrote a book called Torch, Burnt by a Gaslighter. But the reason I'm pausing on this is everybody writes for a different reason. I was talking to my neighbor the other day, and she was talking about writing a book with her granddaughter, like a children's book. And I'm like, well, that's honorable. Maybe you write that children's book just to give to your granddaughter, so your granddaughter can give to her granddaughter. Wow, that would be amazing, and what an accomplishment. Some people write it to supplement their business. Some people write it for all these different reasons. Debbie wrote a book to get the message out about gaslighting and domestic abuse and be a beacon of light for other people. And now she was able to donate a few bucks the other day to the cause to help some other people. So, Debbie, why don't you tell us how that played out?
Well, good morning, everyone. And actually, the sun is finally coming out, finally, after all these months in Southern California. So that makes me happy. Yes, part of what I did when I wrote the book and published it and marketed it was to promote 50% of the book sale profits to be donated to the Nicole Cooley Foundation. Nicole was 25 years old when she was brutally murdered by her boyfriend as a result of domestic violence. I'm aware of the foundation because I went to college with Nicole's father. So, in trying to set all of this up as I was finishing up with the writing and everything, my goal was to kind of leave a legacy. And I had thought about a foundation and then remembered theirs. And so we agreed to partner with each other. And so, hence why 50% of the book sale profits are being donated there. And I am totally blessed enough to that from supporters who have purchased the book and passed it on, that I was able to give them a check for $250, representing 50% of the book sale profits. And the book has been out since the end of October. So those are the kind of things that I want to do. And it's a result of things that have happened to me. And part of writing the book was therapy, but part of it is, wait a minute, people need to be talking about this. And it took a while. It took 25 years for me to open up about this, but I am so glad that I did. And I want to say that I've actually tied this into, this is more of a passion. And you're talking about fun, but I think it's also about finding joy in what you're doing. And so I'm at the right point in my life right now, and I couldn't be happier. So thanks, Dom.
Debbie, we appreciate you, and it's just good to see people making a difference out there, and that's what, like, you're using your voice, you're making a difference. So we salute you. So anybody else that has an idea, that whether it's podcasting, whether it's singing a song, painting a picture, if you think you can make a difference, get out and do it, man. You are helping. And this is cliche, but they say your story is somebody else's survival guide, but it is, so thank you. Get out and share it. All right, Jason, man, this is not the smartest guys in the room. We're talking about having fun. We're talking about making a difference. One of the subjects I was going to talk about too today is cutting ties. When's it time to cut ties? So any of those things you want to drop in on, man, have at it.
Well, there's quite a few, there's a lot to say. I mean, the Stoics, they believe that you should have leisure and you should have hobbies to break up your discipline, in your life. A lot of us, we want to do things right, but it's like, what do you find fulfillment in? And part of fulfillment is having, I guess you could say, work-life balance between your work, and your personal and everything. And finding balance is not easy. You're not going to truly always have it, but there'll be moments. And finding fulfillment should be something that we all should reevaluate, and how it comes to us daily. Like when people talk about goals or how they want to fulfill something, or they'll say, I need to have more discipline. Discipline gives you freedom of choice because you have things in categories, but also at the same time, to break up the monotony, having free thought, creativity, it all enhances the human spirit, being interested in things, not based on profit, but based on more than principle, and having fulfillment. So there's a lot of people out there that say never be satisfied. And I'm like, BS. You need to be satisfied with things. And we'll use, like, for examples, we'll talk us out of being satisfied because we don't want to be judged, as an example. And I'll wrap my point up here. When we say, well, I'm not perfect, the definition of perfect is good enough for now, the moment. So how we talk, how we act, how we free up our personal experience is all a matter of optics, perspective, and fulfillment. So just take it there, and that's what I'll add. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I like to think of, I think a lot of people do get caught in that sort of on that hamster wheel of like trying to achieve perfection and then never actually going anywhere because all they're doing is trying to achieve perfection in something. And it just made me think of like sort of analogizing perfection to the way I like to think about mission, right? And even to some extent goal setting, right? So I personally, I think a mission, if you're on a mission for your business, if you're on a mission personally, whatever the case may be, we talked about mission a few weeks ago, that mission should be something that's not achievable, right? That is broadly unachievable, something you will never accomplish in your lifetime. And the reason for that is because it will mean that you're always moving towards something. If you can't achieve it, then you're always moving towards it. And I think perfection is a lot, or is very similar, right? It's okay to strive for perfection, but you have to know and understand and accept that you're never going to get there, right? And I think that's the place where a lot of people go wrong, is they strive for perfection with the false hope that they're actually going to achieve it, right? Even though it's impossible. So, go ahead, Jason. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I mean, I like your idea overall, but it also makes me think about evolve. Like when I get to a certain step, doesn't mean I can't evolve from the next step. And I like what you said, it's like, you'll never achieve it. And to me, it's like when I achieve my markers, my bench markers, imagine you're rock climbing or you're an Ironman, that's something I've never done, and as I want to compete in something like that, what are the benchmarkers to say I've competed in an Ironman, and training is a big part of it. But it's not until you're there. And then when you get to it, say like you compete at your local Ironman, and then you want to go to the Grand National in Hawaii, which is the mother of all invitations, what then? But I think that we just have to be mindful of, what we're actually satisfied for the moment, and not saying we can't improve from the next to the next, or what is the next. So I like what you said, Tom.
Thanks, man. Yeah, likewise. I mean, and it looks different for everyone. I think that's part of it too, is that it's all very, very individualized. You mentioned Ironman. Like, look, the pros that cross the finish line, 4 hours, 3+ hours ahead of when I do are Ironman just as much as I'm an Ironman, just as much as the people who cross 3, 4, 5 hours after I do are Ironmen, right? Like, it doesn't matter how long it takes, right? Or what the path is, right? It's different for everybody. It's whether or not you've set the goal and then accomplished it. And it's okay to never accomplish it the way you originally envisioned. It's okay for it to change, to evolve, as you said, over time, right? For that goal to adjust and adapt to the circumstances at hand. So yeah, I think it's important to sort of, to just give yourself some space, right, to adapt in whatever your goal setting is, but then also to make sure that you're not holding yourself to an unachievable standard, and that isn't stopping you from getting started, right? It's like when I talk about creating video, and I actually kind of fell into this a little bit when I had not started doing the vlogs. I kept mentioning I was going to start doing my vlogs again. I'm going to start doing my vlogs again. Kept saying it. And I fell into a trap that I constantly coach people to get out of, which is I hadn't started it yet because I was overthinking what I needed to do. I was trying to overplan. What about this concept, or what about this topic, or what? And instead, what I needed to do is just get my camera out and start filming, right? I just needed to press record and start talking. I needed to take the first step. So just make sure you get off that hamster wheel and you don't kind of, churn in place, that you actually take a step in the right direction. So yeah, that's what I think, for what it's worth. And I do like to, Dom, I don't know if you saw, but Julie commented on the LinkedIn stream. She commented, "Hello, NTSGs." Like, so I like the NTSG kind of like acronym for not the smartest guys in the room, but yeah.
That's cool. That's like New Kids on the Block. We could what people in what is it? NKOTB. Yeah, we
Yeah.
could be somebody.
We're just NTSGs.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to just on this goal setting thing. I've been pondering this idea. I made a video of it yesterday, trying to let you know. Sometimes you see these pictures of me if you follow me on social media or something. I might be out. Here I am cheesing or showing something in the backdrop somewhere. I'm out running or riding my bike or something like that. But I had this goal to hit 1,000 miles this year. And it's 1,000 miles all purpose when I'm exercise, walking, swimming, whatever. Now I know like an Ironman might do 1,000 miles in a month. I have an author that was in a race that raced across Africa. I'm sure it probably took her 2 weeks and she probably did 1,000 miles. My goal is 1,000 miles. A couple of years ago in the pandemic, early in the pandemic, we're walking. I'm charting here and there. Me and my wife are going for walks, taking the dog. And I see at the end of the year, it says like 997 or something in my run keeper. And so I didn't think much of it. Year passes, and then it's down to like 800, 700. And I'm like, oh. Back then, I took more walks with my wife. I think I was in a little better shape. I liked that. Now, the world was different then in 2020, but because things weren't open. And then as soon as things opened up, maybe I gave up on something that I liked and appreciated. So now I put down 1,000 miles and I am chasing that 1,000 miles, which is a goal to me. And I understand that somebody could break that walking at work. You know, hey, I work in a steel mill and I walk 12 miles a day. 12 miles times this, they're going to blow it away. But this 1,000 miles for me means something. And so if you see those pictures and things like that, you can hold me accountable. You can boo me, whatever. But it is trying to get to that number. And maybe I'll be a little better version of me if I make it there, which we could all use, a better version of Dom. All right. Not the smartest guys in the room, the best version of somebody. Johnny, what do you got for us, man? What do you want to weigh in on all this?
Good morning, friends and foes. This is John Pike of the Prophet of Pop Culture. You can call me Johnny. And look, I live this motto or this idea of having fun. Because look, adulting is hard. And I believe that everyone should give themselves something to look forward to every day. This is how you have fun. No matter what you do, no matter what field you're in, give yourself something to look forward to every single day. And it can be something small. It could be, reading a book that you're invested in. It could be watching your favorite TV show. It could be going for a bike ride through the neighborhood. It could be sitting down, going to the ice cream shop with your kids or your grandkids. Take a Saturday, go to a comic book shop, go to a toy store and buy something. Go to the movies, go see a concert, do things every single day to give yourself something to look forward to. And I don't believe in life-work balance, by the way. I believe in life-work boundaries. And that's another way. When you're clocked out of work, you're clocked out of work. Go relax, enjoy your life, have fun. We don't live to work, we work to live. So that's what I have to say about it. And I would also say, for those of you out there who, and this is going to sound harsh, but there are people out there who define themselves by their past tragedy or their past trauma. And those things do not define you. I have a brother who, in 1989, his apartment burned to the ground, and he lost everything he owned. He has, in his mind, never moved past that point. And everything in his life is defined by, in the fire, this happened. I lost this. And, the past does not define us. This past forms us, but it does not define us. So find ways to look forward to not just the present, but forward to the future, and leave the past buried in the past. That's my thoughts.
Johnny, man, you're on fire today. And I want to mention, I was so excited, Johnny. I live in a town called Greensburg, right outside of Pittsburgh. And we have a thing called the Palace Theater. And I saw Johnny was playing, he's doing one of his shows soon at the Palace. And it's the Palace in like Tennessee or something. And I was so psyched. And then all of a sudden, I was crushed, Johnny.
Hey, I will come to that palace. We are workshopping this show right now for the next 5 months. And then we're going on tour. And my favorite place to perform are old movie houses, old movie palaces, and that are being used today for live performances. So if you want me to come to your palace, Dom, let's talk and make it happen.
Okay, man. I watched WrestleMania 3 there a long time ago where Hogan picked up Andre the Giant. So having you be there would make it even better. It would be like a whole nother, the next generation would see something so incredible.
You know it, brother.
That's right. That's Johnny's Hogan impression, if anybody doesn't know. It wasn't bad. Okay, not the smartest guys in the room. Dr. Tachi, the queen of a media empire. What do you have to weigh in on having fun, Dr. Tachi? What do you think? And you always do, by the way, on your stream.
Oh my gosh, I don't do things if it's not going to be fun. Let's just go with that. The life is way too short for me to be toiling away for nonsense. So that's my philosophy of it. But I wanted to also add this thing, two aspects of it, religion and society. So if you think about all the different idioms that come from a religious background, so for example, idle hands are the devil's playground. It makes it almost sinful not to do anything. So you feel guilty if you are just not doing anything. So I pulled up two things because I had to remember. Proverbs 21, verse 25. The desires of the lazy will kill them because their hands refuse to do anything. And then Proverbs 14, verse 23. All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Nobody wants to be poor. So you find yourself trying to do something all the time. And this is, for people that subscribe to religion, sometimes religious edict causes you to work because you don't want to be thought of as lazy, which is sinful. I remember I went to Catholic school my entire life. And boy, you could not be lazy there. How dare you be lazy? And it also spills over to society because, okay, I'm a child of African parents. African parents can't stand laziness. So you find yourself always trying to do something useful, quote unquote, because you don't want to be thought of as lazy. And that also spilled over to me once I started working, obviously, as a professor. I would find myself, and it has to do with upbringing, but it also has to do with who you are in society and what group affiliation you have. If you're in a group that is always thought of as, quote, less than, then you also work harder to prove that not only are you not less than, but you're more than. So I'm coming to work 7 days a week so you can see how much I work. So I found myself, and not that I did it consciously, but looking back on it, I'm like, now, these fools were in their homes on Saturdays and Sundays while me and my other colleague, who was Jewish, we would be at the university doing things. And it's like I'm thinking back, not necessarily for him, but definitely for me. I'm like, inadvertently and subconsciously, that's probably because you are a new professor trying to show that you belong there and that you are worth. But I'm like, the fact that you got hired and the fact that you got your PhD, that already shows that you're worthy. So you don't have to prove. But depending on who you are sometimes put in a position to have to prove, which will cause you to overwork. So I'm saying all that to say that you definitely need to find joy and find pleasure and find respite in things outside of work, but that you should also enjoy what the hell you do. Whatever you do for work, that should be part of the enjoyment. That doesn't mean all parts of it are going to be fun, but you should definitely enjoy what you do. It should not be a toil. Going back to the religious thing, the whole thing is also that, well, on the other side, there will be enjoyment, so that your life almost here on earth should be miserable. Think about also the whole retirement thing, how people work themselves to the bone because, oh, when I retire, then I can travel. But by that point, maybe you won't enjoy the travel. You'll be too broken to do that. So there's also the message of enjoy the now. Don't just wait. And I know it's not so simple because everybody doesn't have the leisure to go ahead and just go on vacation whenever they want. But maybe looking at working towards whatever that looks like for you, where it is not overworking yourself. And then finally, it's the thing of when we approach people, when we meet people at, hopefully you can hear me, I had a red bar. But when you meet people at networking events, etc., the first thing always is, what do you do? Again, tying it to work, tying it not to play, maybe what do you do for fun? Or, so what besides work do you do? Those types of things, because it reduces us to work, and your value is only tied to how hard you work. So yeah, definitely take respite in things outside of work and enjoy what you do. I release the mic.
Yeah, and sorry, go ahead, Johnny. You got something you want to add there? Quick.
Yeah, so I love what she just said, and I want to phrase the idle hands are the devil's playground. Well, for those of you who don't know, I have a degree in comparative world religions, and I am an ordained minister in my past life. But I there's another idiom in the church, in my faith, that says busy. The word busy is an acronym for being under Satan's yoke. Just food for thought.
So thanks for sharing that, Johnny. Yeah, the busy thing had got me thinking too. And here's where I went with it, based on what Dr. Tachi was saying, is I think and this is something that is kind of baked into me culturally. I think baked into a lot of us culturally. And that is this sort of, this confusion or this confabulation that, busy and productive are the same thing, and they're absolutely not, right? There is this idea that if you are busy doing something for 8 hours a day, that is good, right? And it's not necessarily. You can spend 8 hours doing nothing of value, but something that looks like busy work, right? You could spend 8 hours digging a hole and then filling that hole back in. And at the end of the day, you're exactly back where you started, right? With a flat piece of ground that had a hole in it at one point that has now been filled back in, and nothing has changed. But you spent 8 hours doing nothing, right? Busy and productive are not the same things. And I know, like, from my experience, my personal experience, right, anecdotally, my parents both have this kind of idea really heavily imbued into them culturally that you have to be busy. And if you're not being busy, then you're wasting time. And if you're wasting time, then you're wasting your life, right? And it's all this perceived busyness, right? Which is like, I mean, you could dig in hard on this, and I'm not going to go, we could get into like a real hard tangent on this one, talking about like sort of how this idea has been used to push people to work longer hours, to push people to, to grind it out, right, in their off hours, or work extra hours for the same amount of money for a boss, or how employers use this kind of mentality to push people to do more than they should for what they're getting paid, right? That busy is productive. But the clearest one that I can think of, and probably one that's very salient given the state of working conditions today, is this idea that you have to show up at an office at 9 a.m. and be at that office until 5 p.m., right? 5 days a week, right? That is a quote unquote work week, right? And it's just crazy, because at the end of the day, like the way I've always understood it, and I was fortunate enough to work in a relatively flexible career path and industry early on, was that I had bosses early on who said, look, I don't care what time you show up, and I don't care what time you go home, as long as your work is done, right? If your work product is up to par and you want to take a 2-hour lunch because you've finished what you need to finish, right, and you're ahead of the curve for your work week, right, or you're ahead of schedule, then like take a 2-hour lunch. I don't care, right? Like, I'm paying you for the work product. I'm not paying you to sit in a chair, right, for 8 hours a day, right? That's not what I'm paying you for. That would be a colossal waste of money if that's what you were paying somebody for, right? So I always like to try to think of that when I go to work, and now that I'm self-employed, right, and I work for my own business and with my own clients, when I go to work for somebody, whether I work at 6 o'clock, start working at 6 o'clock in the morning and decide to call it a day at 3 in the afternoon, or I start working at noon and work until 9 o'clock at night, doesn't really make any difference, because at the end of the day, they're never paying me for like the time I'm sitting in the chair at my desk, or the time I've got the camera on my shoulder, or the time that I'm organizing the next shoot. What they're paying me for is the end product. And the only real question is, does the end product live up to, right, justify the cost? And if the answer is yes, then none of the rest of that stuff matters, right? So just don't get busy and productive confused, because they are not the same thing. That's all I got.
Go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, that's why I never say I have a job. I never say a job, because it means just over broke. And that means you're just doing something to get by. And like you said, getting busy doesn't mean you're productive. And after I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Work Week, when I looked at what is the most productive, the best that I can put out in my work, my profession out of the day, and it did come to, there are exactly 4 hours that whatever my clients get out of me, or it's exactly 4 hours out of the day, that my absolute best concentration, my best focus. And I tell people that. And then the rest of the day, I'm delegating, I'm deliberating on, pivots and being curious. And I think that's where we cannot forget, is like, if you really look at what you do all of today, it doesn't matter how many things you got done, it's what was the quality. And when you look at the quality, and that's why so many people, when I worked with them, they felt like they're embarrassed to work next to me, because I'd be taking the next step. It was doing my best. And sometimes it was not shining up enough, or it was working towards it, or it was outshining everybody. And they felt like they were working bad next to me. And I'm like, oh, look, my work ethic is not your work ethic, but my work-life balance. And what I'm here for is for a limited time. And after that, think about how the rest of your day, of whatever you have to do, think about it. Where are you really enjoying out of your day? Because we have families, we have friends, we have obligations, we have work. But when you think about it, who's getting the best out of you and for how long? And that's where you got to look at your value in what you do and reassess that and evaluate that every day, so that you can let go of the stress. You can let go of what's on your plate. That's it.
Jason, right on, brother. You remind me of in Start with the Why. I believe it's Simon Sinek who talks about the flow, a period of the time in the day where you're having the most fun, most productive, get the most done. And how do you get to flow? And how could I get to flow more often? And in my world, like I want to, like hanging out with you guys and Tom, man, I'm in flow. I'm feeling it. So appreciate each of you. But that's what that made me think about. Okay, Billy Thorpe in the house, man. We're going to Billy, talking about having fun. Amazon influencer, whatnot seller, entrepreneur, guy I cyber stock. Billy, what do you got for us, my friend? How you doing today?
Yo, what's up, Dom? Man, I came and found this room because I was like binge watching your TikToks last night. So I was like, I'm gonna go hang out with those guys again and see what's up. But man, I love the conversation, and I think this is one of those things where our culture, our educational system, everything is designed, like the system is designed to create busy worker bees who make the 1%ers even more wealthy. And I'm not beating up the 1%ers. I've been studying this year, as I was telling my wife, I was like, I've since 2013 been a full-time entrepreneur, stepped out of a full-time job that I worked for nearly a decade, and just started figuring out this entrepreneur thing. And so I've always been able to generate money. Like, that's the easy part, right? Like, making money is easy. And if it's not easy, then you're just not utilizing resources. It's the easiest thing to do. But wealthy people don't make money. Wealthy people leverage money. They leverage banks. They leverage relationships, and they use other people's money to gain more wealth and investment opportunities and that type of thing. And so I've always been like, dude, I can make money, but for some reason I never really figured out how to make that money make me money. And so I think a lot of this stuff is fun. For my business, I love my business, man. I love what I do. It's amazing. It's fun. It's awesome. It's different every day. Just this morning I made product videos about, who knows, desk lamps and smartwatches and headphones and a dog bed and all kinds of fun stuff that I get to learn about. But I wasn't always like that. I was always like grind, hustle, hustle, hustle. But this past, I don't know, this past year or maybe the past 2 years, I kind of went on this journey of okay, man, am I enjoying my life? Am I really, and it doesn't mean vacations. And listen, I lived on an island for a year. It was fun. It was great, but it wasn't the life that I thought it was going to be. It wasn't the paradise that I thought it was going to be. It's all about perspective. So it's not really about perfection or whatever. It's about your perspective. It doesn't freaking matter how much money you got, how much money you don't have. It's all about your perspective. And I was in Puerto Rico renting an Airbnb, and we had this monthly payment system set up, because I'm just telling you this story because I want you to realize what happened while I was down there. So we had this payment system set up. Well, we went to go change our method of payment, not our frequency of payment, just our method. Well, Airbnb took the rest of the remaining trip out of our bank account in 5 seconds, which was over $7,500. And then so that happened. But we also, before that happened, we bought a $4,000 vehicle for our trip when we came home to the States, but we felt like we should give that away. So we gave it away to some family members or whatever. So we're literally sitting in this island, cashed out, not a dime in our pocket. And it was the most freeing feeling I've ever had in my entire life. And I was sitting there I'm like the most up shit creek you could possibly be, and I don't even have a boat. I have nothing right now, and it was the most freeing, exhilarating moment of my entire life that literally reset the relationship that I have with money, reset the relationship that I have with work, reset the relationship I have with my family, and I just sat there and was like, dude, this is the worst that it could ever get. Then this is best, minus some, health stuff. I'm sure it could get worse if it was health related. But at that moment, I was like, every fear that I ever had came true about money. I didn't have any, I didn't have a dime. And it was the most freeing thing. And so when I got home, I was like, dude, I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to try stuff, and I'm going to test stuff. And so I work about 4 to 5 hours a day, probably 4 days a week most times. I spend more time with my family. I've been to the beach more in the last week than I've been in the last 5 or 6 years I've lived in this in the community where we live pretty close to the beach here. And I just decided, like, I'm just going to live the life I want to. And the funniest thing is I make more money than I've ever made. And I used to grind 10, 15 hours a day trying to do t-shirt deals and hustle this deal and hustle that deal and flip this thing and flip that thing. But what I decided to do was, like, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have fun. And I'm just going to do what I love. And I got business every single day knocking on my door. I've not made one phone sales call in a year. And it just blows my stinking mind. And I don't think it was because I did all the right things. I don't think it's because I said all the right things or shook all the right hands. It was literally because I just had an experience where I was like, wow, this is not as bad as it seems. So I know today if I lost everything, I'd be back in that mentality of that little island just going, well, this ain't bad. What are we going to do? Let's go to the beach, and we'll figure it out tomorrow. But it's not as bad as it is, So here's the thing. Don't strive for perfection. Strive for perspective. And that's the one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years is, like, dude, it's just taking a step back, taking a deep breath, looking around and going, all right, we're all still alive. Where do we go from here? So I'll drop my mic back to you, Dominick.
Dude, that was incredible, man. I'm sitting here and I receive it. I'm impacted by it. And I hope everybody else thinks it's such a reminder for what's important to all of us. I can think of, like, you guys know, I talk about being in the restaurant business and losing $500,000 and going broke. And I remember when I had no money, when I'm on a government repayment plan, well, we still went and had spaghetti at my sister-in-law's house. And they were some of the best spaghetti meals they were. I still went to a Memorial Day party at my cousin Tom's with my whole family, and all Tom asked me to bring was a bag of chips, and the fireworks were right overhead. And so I think, man, like Billy's saying, if you strip it all away, take it all away, all those pressures, we're going to be all right, man. I love that. I love that concept, man. It makes me think a few years back, me and my dad rode bikes to DC, and like the Potomac was flooded. I know I've mentioned this before. Potomac's flooded. Who knew how big the Potomac was? Man, the river's big. And it floods for like 30 miles out into the plain. So we're taking these detours and we're pushing our bikes. It's just me and my dad pushing our bikes down. I think it's Route 40 through DC, through Virginia or Maryland. I don't know where Route 40 is. And like the trailer trucks are flying by us. And like here they're looking at us probably thinking, look at these two guys in old clothes on bikes with just a bag. And I tell you, like Billy's saying, it was one of the happiest moments of my life. And when you talk about resetting, I was probably I think I was still in pharmaceuticals, and I did all right in pharmaceuticals, and thinking, I don't need any of this. I would be just as happy with this bag on my back, hanging out with my dad and riding down these streets. So 100% Billy, man. Give Billy some hearts. That guy deserves it. And man, I missed you, man. So I'm glad you're back today. Tom, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, for sure. So it just, Billy got me thinking about, when he started talking about perspective, it got me thinking about, there was a time in my life, I think it was in like my mid 20s, maybe my late 20s. And work was, I was always I was in the entertainment industry, and it was always a, kind of short-term project-based work. So, I might work on 2 projects in a year, 1 project in a year, 3 projects in a year, right? And often that's for different companies. So like each one of those is kind of a new job, so to speak, right? So I'm not necessarily like at one company where I know I have a check coming in. Like I could be on a project for 3 months, it could wrap up, and then I'm out of work until I find my next thing, right? Like that's kind of how that industry works. And so I was at a point, I think it was in my late 20s, and I was struggling a little bit with that, right? I had just had a couple of short projects wrap up, and it was like the 3rd or 4th time in a year that I was like hunting for a job, right? And I was getting frustrated, and something kind of came into my periphery, into my view, which would have been a departure from the entertainment industry. This job, it would have been a departure from the entertainment industry, but it also would have been super steady, super reliable, and like would have lasted for kind of however long I wanted to stick with it, essentially. And so I was at this kind of crossroads, this fork in the road, right? And I had to decide what I wanted to do. Did I want to stay in the entertainment industry where I was having a lot of fun, I was challenged, I was excited by it, or did I want to kind of take this sort of safe path that would give me some stability that I didn't have? And the best piece of advice I got when I was at that fork in the road was from my dad. And he said, you have to remember, right, when it comes to making a decision like this, you should not make the decision based on money, because you can always make more money. You can always make more money. The most important thing is what is going to fulfill you and bring you the most satisfaction, right? The most happiness, the most joy. That's the most important thing, because that's what you can't always get more of, right? That's the limited resource. You can always make more money, right? You can always find another way to make money, right? But you can't always find another way to be happy, right? So don't sacrifice your happiness for dollars. So it's just what Billy got me thinking of was that idea of perspective, right? Like, don't sacrifice your happiness for dollars. You can always make more money. Prioritize joy, prioritize happiness. That's the thing that you can't always get more of, right? So that was what Billy got me thinking of. I wanted to share that.
Fantastic, man. I'm thankful everybody's sharing this stuff. I feel like the Grinch when his heart was getting bigger and bigger. You guys are filling me with good stuff here. So, Heather, what do you got? We're talking happiness and fun. And hey, I want to say, Heather, last week, her and Julie were talking email lists and things like that, and they taught me in 5 minutes how to get a link from MailChimp to add it to text and emails and things like that, so to work on my email list. So thanks, Heather. Appreciate you. Go on, my friend. What do you got that's fun? Tell us about having fun. Go on.
I am leaning into fun right now, I guess. And trying to, because like I've prioritized, like I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My mom is an entrepreneur. She's owned her own business since I was like 2. My younger sister is an entrepreneur. She owns a landscape horticulture company in DC. My older sister is an entrepreneur who owns a recording studio in New Zealand. My dad is an entrepreneur, because he works for my mom and does like 2 scale like war monuments and 2 scale it's very insane. Rockford Tower. There's a Rockford Tower here in Wilmington. It's very old, and he like made this replica of it, and he like sells it all over Delaware. So like the entrepreneur side of things is very easy for me. Like I could literally just like talk about business all day long. Like literally, like I sometimes find myself that's the only thing I talk about, because I'm used to that. That's what I grew up in. That's the atmosphere, and the fun is, I think, and good, clean fun, because there's a difference, right? You could be having fun while, committing Grand Theft Auto, but at the same time, it needs to be clean fun. So, you can have fun going on a bender for a freaking week, but, it's not fun afterwards, and it's not fun. Literal happy fun. So I think I'm leaning into that more and trying to, because, you won't be able to find happiness you could find happiness in business, but that goes away. You really do need to find happiness within and not any like external things. Case in point, not to rag on my older sister, but, she was very unhappy here in the United States. And so she moved to New Zealand. She like uprooted her whole entire life, made her husband quit his job, and moved across to New Zealand. And she wasn't happy over there either for a time, because you can't really find happiness in where you are and what you do. You need to find happiness within. So like that's what I'm working on right now. And it's kind of funny that we're talking about this. So next week I'm actually going to the beach with my daughter for like a whole 4 or 5 days, which is really exciting. And yeah, so I find this conversation really timely, but still kind of like difficult for me to talk about, because like happiness is very difficult to find, especially after being like in the thick of trauma and all of abuse and all of that shit for freaking a decade. So it's hard to come by, but you have to do the work. You have to put the work in. So I think that's where I'll leave it. Put the work in.
Heather, thank you very much, and good luck on the journey. And you inspired us. And if you could get, I think it was Johnny that was saying earlier when he was here, if you could do one thing each day, like shoot for one thing, shoot for two things, go for a movie, go for a walk, find that thing that makes you happy, and then maybe you can stack those wins. So thank you for sharing. All right, let's continue. Hey, look at this. Back to back. Oh, Tom, go on.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just wanted to hop in real quick. Heather just made me think of this. That I think you're absolutely right, Heather. Like happiness is not something that comes from external sources, right? Happiness is something you have to find within yourself. But I think external sources can spark happiness, and then you have to give yourself the space to be happy as a result of them, right? So just like you can always look for, like you're talking about going to the beach with your daughter, like you can always look for things that spark joy, that spark happiness, but then you have to make sure you give yourself the space to actually enjoy those things, to actually be happy given that external stimulus, right? So it's not something that can come from outside. It has to be something that you internally accept, but find lots of things that spark happiness for you, right? Lots of things. And it can be lots of little things. It can be the things that just kind of give you a little bit of a half smile when you see them. Like it doesn't have to be something big, right? Just lots of little things add up to happiness overall, right? Just give yourself the space to be happy when those sparks happen. Fan the flames, so to speak.
That would be a great children's book. I can see a little kid looking for happiness. He picks something up, half smile. And then all along, happiness has been deep inside of them. So anybody want to write that? Let's do it. Okay, Heather.
Okay, Tom, let's do it. Let's do it. We're not, might as well. We got a show. Let's do a children's book now.
Yeah. Not the smartest guys in the room. Children's book about finding happiness. Okay. Hey, number one, I got to pause here. I'm going to show you. Speaking of things that are happy, if you're watching the live stream right now, you will see I have a shirt on today that says "Picture It, Sicily, 1922," with Sophia from the Golden Girls on. This is a shirt that makes me happy. I decided, and you'll see it. I have a profile picture on LinkedIn. It was like me in a suit, and from a couple years back. And after our conversation last week, people were talking about pictures that looked like them and stuff like that. And I think the picture might have looked like me, but it wasn't me. That picture of yellow in my Mallow Cup shirt, Mallow Cup, underrated candy, that is me, underrated chocolate. So I went out of the suit, and now you will see me in my Mallow Cup shirt. And this is my Picture It 1922 Sicily shirt. Okay. Now, this was interesting. We got back-to-back Heathers in a row. This is Heather Devine. Oh, and she's got Sophia. You know, Sophia was actually the youngest one on the show. Yeah. Heather, talk to us about happiness. Go on, my friend.
Hi everyone. Wow, what a special room. I followed Heather Cox because she's amazing. Um, so enjoy the beach, Heather. You have such a rad time. Um, yeah, oh gosh, I think that one of the biggest things that came to mind when y'all were talking is like what it is to be busy, what it is to be like living a life that's worthy, because that always comes to mind. I feel like we do that to each other, like especially as adults. We show up to a function, maybe we don't know someone, so we want to ask what they do. And I would think that's probably the most boring thing um, to ask, because kids don't ask that. Like kids are just kids and they play. And I rather get to like, what do you like to do for fun? Like, what is your play as an adult? Because it's kind of boring to just think, oh, this is your occupation. This is all you are. Like, that's not all I am. It's just a fraction of what I am. Um, and I think that we all are creative beings, however you want to show up in your creative sense. Whether you're an architect or you're a builder or, a sandwich maker, you're still creating something, right? You're manifesting something into the world. And my husband is actually running around and he seemed kind of stressed because he's always kind of living on like high stress vibes kind of all the time. And I just like let him do his thing and allow him to talk to me about it if that's something he wishes to do. And he says, "Oh, I'm just feeling overwhelmed with work. We've got a garden that has so many, vegetables in it. And then we're going camping this weekend in our RV, which I can't wait. It's going to be on the lake. It's going to be gorgeous. And we're also going to go check out some live music. And all of that sounds great, right? But because he wants to work as much as possible to like make up for hours and also try to fit in fun rather than being excited for fun and then using work as a way to like also, inject the fun in work, right? And I think because and I can only speak because I'm American, so is my husband, like we were taught to work our ass off, make as much money as we can. And like someone has already mentioned in the room, like we were taught to be little worker bees to like make richer people richer, right? And I work for myself. And actually, Heather, after a time, because her and I used to be in quite a few rooms together in the past, is that every time you talk about like you have like the entrepreneurial spirit in your blood, like I just realized I have it in mine too. My mom had her own business. My dad had his own business. He's an auto mechanic and ran his own garage. My mom was in this is this is when she was like providing like typing and things like that, copywriting, etc. Now my mom works for me, which is really cool. And then my cousin is a tattoo artist. All that being said, like yes, we can work, but we don't need to work until we're dead. Like we can inject fun, we can have fun, we can laugh, we can enjoy ourselves. And I feel like setting the pace and giving ourselves that grace. And someone also mentioned too about that money will come. We can always make more money. That's so true. I think one of the words that I looked up was abundance today, because I always use that word, but it means ample quantity. So if you think about, we're always a little bit afraid of not making enough money, and everybody is in different situations. So I don't want to like blanket statement this, but if we change and shift our mindset around money, money will come. And I want to just like, I know I'm just saying a lot, scatting a little bit. It's okay. Is that I broke my knee skiing a few months ago. I just got surgery. So there's this slowing down process that I've been embracing. And I'm one of those present moment people. Like I want to embrace the now, right now. I don't want to like imagine me being somewhere else. Yes, I prefer to be on a beach right now. But I also want to like embrace the now. So I started painting again, started drawing. And I feel like once we stay in present moment and we're not hypnotized to the same old rigmarole of work and we're not all about trying to make more money and chase the money. We are finally arriving at creativity, right? We're able to like maybe put, hopefully, God forbid, put down the phone, stop watching the news, stop streaming shit. Because I mean, I love streaming stuff. Don't get me wrong. But I also want us to realize that our creativity is stunted because we are inundated with stimulation. So if we take a minute, sit down, we can actually let creativity come to us, or we can create openly without feeling like somebody else has to dictate what we say and do. And I sat down in pitch black with my sons, he's a 5-year-old, and he wanted, just as I was singing him lullabies, he's like, I really want you to make up a story. I made up a story on the fly. I've been drawing and painting, so that to me is a children's book. So I'm working on a children's book right now, not to add to the work, quote unquote work, but I'm adding to and injecting fun into the situation. So I'm excited about that venture, and hopefully they have more to report soon. But just wanted to share a little bit about me, and thank you so much, Dominick, for the space today.
Thanks for being here, Heather. Really appreciate you sharing everything and coming into the room. We're big fans of Heather Cox here as well. So glad you followed her in, and happy to have you here for sure. One of the things that you were just talking about towards the end there that really jumped out at me is talking about how you now I'm searching for the right word. I can't, Dom, I lost the word. I had a word like on the tip of my tongue, and I was going to say something that sounded real smart, I swear. And it just flew out of my head. Can you help me out?
Well, you have been on a roll here today, so I will allow you to. You can't have every word perfect. Sometimes, like, talk about flow. Tom's been in flow today, so I'm glad it wasn't perfect. So forget you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's one of the things I talk about often, right? Is like, let yourself be human, be authentic, right? Like, be radically authentic, relentlessly authentic, right? So if you forget something, if you mess up, it's okay. We're all human beings. We all do it. But yeah, I had a word, something I had latched onto that Heather was talking about, and it completely flew out of my head. So why don't we just keep it moving then, instead of belaboring the point that I can't remember something for 10 seconds. Oh, and now here it is. You know why? Because we're overstimulated now, because we have too much stimulus coming in, right? Because we are inundated with stimulus, right? To a level that we've never really seen before, right? Because we all have these little computers and consume content on them in our pockets all the time. We sit in front of computers. We have TVs. We have like all of these ways that we are inundated with content all the time. And I realized that years ago, when I used to work in the city, when I say the city, I mean New York City, I used to commute on the train, and that was about 45 minutes a day each direction. My commute was about an hour and a half round trip every day. And because I was on a train, I obviously I wasn't driving the train. I was just sitting there. And so that was an hour and a half every day where I was kind of responsible for nothing. I was, beholden to no one. And it sort of bridged the smartphone, like the inception of the smartphone, like pre-smartphone, post-smartphone era. And so when I first started commuting, I just read books on the train, right? And or sometimes I would just stare out the window and or take a nap, right? If I was really tired. So I realized that I now kind of substitute. I missed having that time every day. I'd lost that when I stopped commuting. And now, instead of commuting, I go out and I run and I ride, right? And I swim. And when I'm doing those things, I'm not looking at a screen, right? I'm not scrolling through TikToks or anything like that. I am sometimes listening to podcasts, right? But I'm passively consuming content. And a lot of times my mind is wandering all over the place, right? But it kind of gives me that time. It's sort of my unplugged time. And I think that's incredibly important to find that, at least for me. And I think it probably is for a lot of other people, to find spaces and times where you can really kind of be away from being inundated and really allow yourself to have a little bit of mental freedom rather than just sort of dealing with everything that's being thrown at you nonstop. So, you know, I don't know. Heather made me think of that. And I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we all make space to let ourselves, you know, be creative and be free thinking, and not be overwhelmed by the amount of stimulus that's coming into us day in and day out. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share once I remembered what my word was and train of thought was. Anyway, now that I've rambled on for, you know, way too many minutes, why don't we go to our friend John Wiley and hear what he has to say about finding happiness and maybe making space to not be so inundated with content. What do you think, John?
First of all, I love the room. Love everything you're talking about. It's a pleasure to be here with you, like always. For me, happiness is a decision. And it really comes about the most when I have the most gratitude in my life, number one. And I'm grateful for what I have, really grateful for what I don't have going in my life anymore. But secondly, that it is, I lost the second. The second one was, I had to learn, and I always have to keep abreast of the second one was, the less thinking I do, the happier I am. I'll repeat that again. The less thinking I do, the happier I am. My wife, I've gotten so good at that. My wife will ask me what I'm thinking, and I'll have to make up stuff because I got nothing. I feel the way I feel because I think the way I think. When I get stuck in the past with the different traumas we went through in police work and other things, that's how I don't feel well. The one thing that I had to learn to do, and I always have to keep in mind, is that I have to set priorities for myself. That's a decision process again. That there's certain times that I work, and there's certain times that I don't. And there's certain times I don't. I try to fill it up with things that are important to me. Spending time with my wife, talking to my daughters, doing other things, not thinking, meditating, praying, all these things that are valuable in my life. But the one thing I had to become aware of was that I had to learn, and I still have to learn, and I catch myself from time to time, is to avoid the employee mindset where I'm working for someone else. I'm always got to put in a certain amount of hours, do certain things, and develop the creator mindset. I'm creating something that is to be consumed by as many people as possible, and that generates revenue from me. But the number one thing, and I'll close on this, is I set my goals of where I want to be, what I want to accomplish with what I do in concrete. However, the path that I achieve those goals are written on sand at the beach because it's always changing with the tide every time I turn around. So I always have to adjust and adapt because so many things are beyond my control. But that happiness thing, that's a result of decisions. Sometimes I need a lot of help from a lot of people. And if I were ready myself to achieve that level of happiness, and I need to remember that. I don't get to where I'm at by myself. Thank you.
Oh man, that was fabulous. And that quote about the sand, did you read that somewhere? You make that up on the spot? That was impressive.
You know, I've been saying that for a couple of years. I don't know if I saw something originally, but people always say, you know, the saying I've always heard is write your goals in sand and avoid concrete. Well, if we don't have a path of where we're going, we always said is back in the day, you didn't get in your car unless you knew where you were heading. If you didn't know where you're heading, you never knew if you got there or not. So if I don't have an idea what my goals are and I don't make them indelible and unchangeable, then I'll never accomplish those goals. But how I get there really is always has to change and adapt.
Beautiful, man. And I want to point out something that John touched on too, was this, some things don't serve us. And John figured out some of the things that didn't serve him along the way. And I'm sure we're all holding on to a lot of those things whether it's relationships, whether it's me eating fried chicken all the time. I mean, there are things out there that don't serve us, and if we could figure out what those were.
Fried chicken, Dominic. Now I'm hungry. Thank you.
I'm not starting that conversation. We went crazy on chicken sandwiches one day. So no, we're not going down that path.
And it got a little like it got a little weird, right? Like there were it got a little like it almost turned political at one point. It was bizarre.
like of all the things in this room, like I mean, we've went down some paths where like it could be political, it could be AI, it could be, but chicken sandwiches though a chicken sandwich is the crispiness of a chicken sandwich might be one of the most polarizing things to talk about on this platform. All right, Satma, you're up, my man. What may talk about having fun? Go on, my friend.
That's funny. That's just funny. Oh, beautiful clubhouse. Hey, tribe. Hey, community. So
yeah, you never know. You never know, right, man?
That's so funny. All right. So there's some things that were said. I'll highlight them quick. I'm in a doctor's office. If you're bored, you're a boring person. That's what I always tell people when they say they're bored. Well, you're probably just a boring person. Happiness definitely is a choice. It is always a choice. No matter what. I don't care the reason. It's a choice. And that's about all I got. I mean, there were some other things I wanted to say, but they've left the building for now. So live life, love yourself.
Okay, man. The room's been strong. Sometimes we just gotta let it flow. We can't top it, man. Go on, Dimple. We're talking about having fun in what you do in life. How do you make it happen? Go on, Dimple.
Yeah, I think you just have to make everything that you're doing fun, right? And if you're not having fun, maybe you're in the wrong space or you're doing the wrong thing, and maybe you should find something else to do that you enjoy doing. So I think you've got to make it fun or find something fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I took my daughter out with me to do some of the things I do yesterday. We went out for a few hours and just to show her, hey, entrepreneurship it's not always what you see, like this side of it. Like some is the side that's not so pretty. So we were doing some of that yesterday. And even in that, those daily things that Tom's not going to like this word that some people call a grind, or those parts of the job that aren't as glamorous. We did that yesterday and we had a blast. I mean, we saw all kinds of people. We met people. And it was just, it was a good day. And we made it a fun day. My wife's like, well, how'd it go? I'm like, what do you mean? We had a blast. It was incredible. So now hold on here. We got somebody. Okay. Let's see.
Dominic, I remember what I was going to say. Sato.
Let's go on, man. What do you got?
Yeah, man. So one of the things in this grind that I found, I was 9 years on the road. I've driven over 1 million miles, right? And some of these days they would just be so long, and these loads are massive, 250 feet long. Some of them are up to 500,000 pounds. Some of them are like 18 to 23 feet wide, it's like massive pieces. And I learned something in that process. I have to enjoy this grind. And if I can't enjoy it, find a way to, like Dimple said, make it fun. If I'm if I'm moving freight in downtown Newark, New Jersey, find a way to make it fun, even though everybody wants to, eat you up down there. But anyway, that was the other thing I wanted to add. It's not fun, I'm speaking.
Right. And Sapa, I think a few people mentioned like perception and perspective here. I mean, it's all how you look at it and think in this moment, in this sky, this present, the book, the present. Like, well, I could look out my window and see, like the other day I'm riding and I see, like I live in Pennsylvania, the Appalachian Mountains are nearby. I can look out the window and see what an amazing view, like to soak up that second. So I met this person. I was able to do that. I walked up this steep set of stairs, whatever it is, man. There's something every day. What did they say? Every day may not be good, but there's something good in every day. Oh, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
maybe it is all good. Yeah, go on. What Satva's eating his cup of coffee. He's chewing his coffee in his picture. Okay, let's see what Tom. We're getting ready for Tom's wrap up, and we're going to meet Essential first. But I will tell you, Tom is probably preparing the wrap up. But the other week after the show, we talked about that maybe Tom shouldn't have a wrap up prepared. Maybe he should just call on somebody randomly, like Dr. Tachi, and maybe she should just tell Tom what she wants him to finish with. So maybe we're going to do that. Tom might be mad at me, so we'll let him.
No,
decide.
I was totally on the same wavelength, Dom. Totally on the same. I was actually thinking I have a topic in mind that I could talk about. I don't have anything prepared. That's something everybody should know. I never prepare the sort of wrap ups. It's always from something that we've talked about in the room that day. Often I don't realize that I have to wrap up until right before I have to wrap up. And so often I don't, I don't have any idea what I'm going to say until right before I say it. So we were talking about this last week. I was actually thinking like, maybe we'll try it out. Let's see how it goes. So I don't know.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. Of the people on stage, I'm going to put fingers behind my back, 1 through 5. And whoever wants to play, if you yell out a number, you're going to pick what Tom talks about at the end. So the fingers are behind my back. Now you got to guess them, and you decide what Tom talks about to wrap us up today. So, okay, on the count of 3, go if anybody wants to play, or else, okay, you got to call how many fingers I have. Go on.
4.
3.
Okay, the answer is 4, Satva. I think it was Satva that said 4. Satva, what should Tom finish with today? What should he take us home with?
Why is water wet?
And in ChatGPT style.
I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
okay, go on. Good, thank you. We were going to fail miserably on our first time. So what do you got, man?
Right. So what is the solstice to you? What is so magical and important about the summer solstice to you?
Oh, interesting. Go on, Tom.
What is so magical about the solstice?
Summer solstice to you? I mean, I guess you have
it.
to turn that into media, I guess.
I got nothing on this.
Okay. Well, I'll go new beginnings.
I mean, that's
so Tom, so I'm going to take you on that route. We're going to tell us about new beginnings because summer, it's new. We're launching new beginnings. So that's where you got to go.
I don't know. All right.
We failed.
I actually could have gone into the why is water wet thing.
Okay, let's hear.
I actually could have talked about that. Like you start getting into I'm not as much as I talk about sort of emotions and feelings and accepting things and sort of I guess psychology a little bit. I'm very much not like what a lot of like things like why is the summer solstice magical to me is like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like the way my brain works, like that sentence makes no sense to me. Right. So like I can't say anything substantive. I could talk about what I think of, but I couldn't really say anything like sort of substantive about it.
Strike one. Okay. Go on.
But maybe that's what I just talk about then is kind of what comes to my mind. So like I don't know, I don't know what's magical about the summer solstice and the winter solstice. Honestly, in my opinion, nothing, right? It's a product of astrophysics, right? It is a product of the way in which our planet revolves around the sun, right? That there has to be a longest day of the year and there has to be a shortest day of the year, right? It's just a virtue of the fact that we orbit the sun and it takes about 365 days for us to make it around the sun each time. And so between that and the tilt of the Earth's axis, you end up with a day in the summer that is long and a day in the winter that is short. So what's magical about it? Honestly, in my opinion, nothing. Is it really cool and interesting? that we have a longest day and a shortest day? Absolutely. Do those things have an impact on our psychology? 100%. I lived in Alaska for about 2 years, and it really draws into start living at that high latitude, really draws into stark relief how much impact the light from this burning star that's millions of miles away in emptiness has on how we feel as human beings here on Earth. It is shocking how much of an impact it has when you have only 4 hours of daylight in the winter and you have 20 hours of daylight in the summer. And ultimately, what you have to do in both of those situations is it's hard to sleep in the summer. It's also hard to stay motivated in the winter when you have, when you're at those kinds of extremes. What you have to do is figure out how to accommodate those extremes into your life. And at the end of the day, make the most out of the situation. And by making the most out of the situation, what I mean is you have to make sure that you make time and give yourself space to have fun, because ultimately that's what it's all about. That's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. I tried to bring it back around. Dom was urging me in the background to bring it back around to having fun, because that's how we started the room. And it was all kind of, Dom really liked the vlog that I put out the other day, which I appreciate incredibly. And so that's what I wanted to bring it back around to. Hopefully I did well, despite my early protestations. Sattva, hopefully I rose to the occasion of accepting your topic and opining off the freestyle opining off the top of my head. I
got to interrupt here, man. You killed it, and you just got yourself like weird things we do on this show, like me showing weird dolls and stuff. You are definitely doing that again, because it was hilarious, and then you killed it. So keep going, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. But yeah, we always try to have fun here. We always try to keep it interesting, keep it upbeat. We don't always keep it light. Sometimes we tackle hard subjects like chicken sandwiches, and sometimes we tackle light subjects like how to be happy at work. But yeah, we always try to keep it moving for you guys. We appreciate all of you being here every week, supporting us, supporting this space. You guys are why we do this, and we love you for it. So thanks for joining us here in Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. I'm Tom, for my friend Dom. We will see you guys next Wednesday morning at 9:30 a.m. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. Oh, and actually, Dom, I totally forgot. I'm away next week. I'm away next Wednesday. So I won't be here. Dom and I will talk offline. We may or may not skip a week. Maybe Dom finds a guest host. But I'll be out of town for a rare vacation. Try to do it every once in a while. It's supposed to rain all next week, so I really will be having to find new ways to have fun at my parents' lake cabin, despite the rain. So anyway, that's all I got for everybody. Until the next time, we love you. Take care of yourselves, and don't forget to have fun. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.